Well, hello to Winnie, Sterling, James, Roman, and Cleo. Well, it has been more than one day since I read to you and read to you, and I read two books last week, and that was not too much to read. Today, the super pet hero is a she. She was little in the beginning of the story, but you will find out that she is not little in the end. And there is a dog, D-O-G, in this story, and he will be a hero. Yes, he is happy to help out because there was an elevator that they thought would fall down when the people were trying to go up. So we'll see that adventure. There isn't a mom and dad in this story that I am going to read, but let's see. Oh, there are big animals in it also, kind of like me. Okay, I love you, and I hope that you love me too. So, the question, the words we might find in this book too are were and are, A-R-E. So, what are we going to read? Well, let's see. What is this book? B-O-O-K, book. It is a story. Stories are S-T-O-R-Y. It's a story about, A-B-O-U-T, about the biggest, little, and you know those words, the biggest little hero. It was a super pet. Now, what do you think animal this is? I had a hard time from that picture figuring out what animal it is. But when I turn the page and you see them not all wrapped up in themselves, you will see what that animal is. I want to turn this so we both come up at the same time. So, the biggest little hero. Oh, and here we have a picture of the heroes and villains in our stories. Not all of them, every story. So here is, now this one sometimes could be a hero, but I think she's a villain, and this is a dog who is always a hero in this story. Ta-da! This, all stretched out, is this. Do you guys know what kind of animal that is? Starts with a G. It's a giraffe. And the giraffe is the animal that goes with Giganta. They kind of look alike. They both have red hair, lipstick. They even have the same eye makeup. Look at that eye makeup. And then they look an awful lot alike. But our hero here is Spot the dog, and he belongs to the Atom. They kind of have the same red suit on. So there are 3 chapters in our book today. Chapter 1 is Mighty Mites, 2 is Giant Problem, and 3 is Big Finish. So, our hero here is Spot. Spot has a brilliant mind. That means he's very smart. And he has shrinking ability. He can make himself small. And he belongs to the atom. He's a canine. Canine is another way of saying a dog. Just like a person is a human, a dog is a canine. He was born on Earth. We don't know how old he is. His favorite food is baby carrots. And aided by his master's invention, this common canine became a mighty mite, able to shrink and travel through phone lines. You can see how old this book is. They have phone lines. They don't have the cordless phones like we have. Okay, Patches is the name of this giraffe. Giant in size, rough neck. And look at, here is a picture of Spot next to Adam, the atom. And then we have another hero that's going to be in this book, Apache. And then we have the giraffe, and then we have Giganta. Look how different their sizes are, little to big. All right, our first chapter is Mighty Mites. One bright morning, Dr. Ray Palmer, that's Dr. Ray Palmer, was preparing breakfast. Woof, woof, his loyal dog Spot brought him the newspaper from outside. Dr. Palmer dropped everything and he read the headline, White Dwarf Star Falls to the Earth. Well, dwarf means looks just like any other star, however, it's small. It's small, so that's what dwarf means. So, Ray was a professor at the Ivy Town University. He taught the science of making things smaller. Spot was Ray's assistant, best friend, and incredible canine scientist, dog scientist. Together, they were working on a new shrinking machine. "This is it, Spot," Ray cried. "You've solved the puzzle. We must get to the crash site before it's too late." Ray and Spot scarfed down some bacon and eggs, and then they dashed out the door. Whoosh! The newspaper said that the white dwarf star had exploded overnight, and the pieces had rained down on the Ivy University field. When Ray and Spot arrived, the field was blocked with yellow tape. The professor showed his ID, and the police let him in. Together, he and Spot scooped up as much of the stardust as they could. "This dust is the key to our success," Ray told Spot. "To the lab!" The tireless twosome worked into the night. With Spot's help, Ray created a lens using the dust from the white dwarf star. When the light passed through the lens, it could shrink any object, and then they tested it on a device nearby, a chair. Swoop! And look what happened to the chair. Whew. The chair disappeared. It was no longer visible to the naked eye. Ray leaned over the empty space with a big magnifying glass so they could see the chair. It was as tiny as could be. "We've done it, Spot," claimed the professor. Then Ray laid his head down on the desk and he started snoring. Spot curled up next to him, and then he fell asleep. The pooped pooch fell asleep too. The next day, Ray woke up on the floor of his lab. "Wake up, Spot," he said. "We still have work to do." Ray had another brilliant idea. He decided to reverse the shrinking device. He aimed the lens at the tiny chair and zapped it back to the normal size. "Let's try it on ourselves," Ray said. "Bark," Spot agreed. The professor created uniforms that could shrink safely. At the same time, the suits would make them strong. Each suit contained a lens with a dwarf stardust. The lens was located on the belt. Pushing a button turned on the device. "Ready, Spot?" Ray asked his brave Bow Wow. "Let's go." Click, click. Ray and Spot pressed the button on their belt and swoom! Suddenly the duo shrank to the size of an atom. An atom is the tiniest, tiniest little element on Earth. So tiny you can't even see it unless you use a great big magnifying glass. So, look what happened. They were big, And then they shrunk smaller, 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 until they were really small. Swoosh! In an instant, they were back to normal size. So then they went from very small back up to big. This is amazing, Ray said. I must tell Dr. Zool. Ray picked up the phone and he called Doris Zool. She worked in the lab next door. She was developing a top-secret project, too. It was completely opposite of Dr. Palmer's. Doris wanted to increase the object size, make them bigger. Again, giving anything the power of a giant. She needed only one more ingredient to complete her project. When the phone rang in her lab, Doris picked it up. Hello? There was no answer. Is anyone there, she said. We're right here. They were so tiny, they went right through the phone line, and they came right out there where she was trying to talk on the phone. That's how tiny they were. Ah! Doris screamed, and she spotted Ray and Spot crawling out of her phone receiver. How did you do that? She cried. Ray explained what happened. We can shrink to the size of an atom, he said. Then we can travel through the phone line and hop on top with moving electrons. That's how we got here. Isn't that grand? Dr. Zool was amazed and happy. She was also very jealous. Beep, beep, beep. Suddenly an alarm rang out. Several scientist students were trapped in a nearby elevator. They were carrying boxes of chemicals. The elevator was out of control and kept jerking up and down. The chemicals were highly dangerous. They could explode at any moment. Ray and Spot ran to the main lobby and used the emergency phone and traveled through the phone line into the elevator. Swoosh! Ray appeared on the shoulder of a student. Hello there, he said. Ah! The student cried, dropping the box of breakers. Ray changed to normal size, and he caught that box before it crashed on the floor. Woof, woof, Spot said, and the student telling the students, don't panic. He and his owner shrank again and squeezed through the elevator ceiling, climbed under the machine's powerful gears. These are the gears that were running the elevator. And Ray and Spot used all of their might and held the elevator in place until everybody could get off safely. Afterwards, students and teachers greeted them in the lobby. Thanks so much, they said to the heroes. Who are you? Asked the student. Ray rubbed his chin and thought for a good superhero name. The Atom, he said. And this is my partner, Spot. No. Okay, woof, woof, said Spot. That's the end of Chapter 1. Chapter 2 is Giant Problem. Dr. Zool was a rainbow of emotions. She was red with anger, green with envy, and blue with sadness. My research is so much better, Dr. Zool whined. I should have made that discovery. I should be getting all the attention. To feel better, Dr. Zool headed to the traveling superhero show. Performers at the show displayed their superpowers for their loyal fans. The star of the show was Apache Chief. That's him. The star of the show, this superhero could use a special magic powder to increase his size and strength. When Apache Chief spoke the magic word, chunk, he grew 50 feet tall. Wow, that's taller than your house. Apache Chief called several animals on stage. Powerful hero picked up a giraffe and held her in the air. Oh, I think that's the same giraffe we saw here. The crowd went wild. Dr. Zool's eyes widened in awe. Ray Palmer had his lucky break, she said, eyeing Apache Chief's magic powder. Now I found mine. After the performance, Doris snuck into the Apache Chief's dressing room, and she snatched the magic powder and scooped out a handful. But before she could use it, Patches, the giraffe, stuck her head into the room. The hungry animal licked up that powder. "Hey," Doris cried, "keep your neck out of my business." Then she poured the rest of the powder on herself. "Unchuck," she yelled, and swoom! Well, look what happened. A giraffe and Doris grew until they're very big. Doris and Patches stretched and ripped through the performance tent. They grew in size until they towered over the town. People ran screaming in all directions. "I am Gigantica," cried the new villain. "All of Ivytown will look up to me." She turned and stomped away, and Patches galloped after her. Apache Chief discovered that his magic powder had been stolen. He felt as if he was to blame for the town's newest villain. Ugh! Apache Chief called Dr. Ray Palmer. Little did he know that his old friend was now a new hero too, the Atom. The Atom and Spot traveled through the phone lines and soon arrived at the circus. Apache Chief told them what had happened. Together the three heroes set off to find Giganta and Patches. They were pretty sure they would be hard to miss because they're so big. Giganta and Patches thundered through the Diamond District, and large looters went on a crime spree. Looters is when they steal things from stores. The villainess grabbed a hot air balloon out of the sky, turned it upside down, making it a loot bag. Patches stretched her long neck down the block. Chomp, chomp, the giraffe chewed the roof off of the jewelry stores. Giganta followed close behind and collected entire jewelry counters and dropped them into her new super-sized satchel. The giantess had thought of a plan. She would continue her research with the use of these jewels. By crushing them into fine dust, she combined them with Apache Chief's magic power, then that would multiply her power. Giant size and super strength were only the beginning. Today, Ivytown. Tomorrow, the world. Oh my goodness, Giganta. Giganta spotted a large billboard which read, "Glasses by Godot." There was a large pair of oversized sunglasses, and she ripped them off and put them on. "Don't I look divine?" she asked. The store owner came running out. "What's the big idea?" he yelled. "I am," said Gigantica, and she threw the giant glasses and stomped off. Look at how you can see she's breaking up the road where she stomps off through the town, making everybody mad. She knocked the car over. Whew. The town was in trouble. There was no one around to save it. Well, that's the end of Chapter 2. So Chapter 3 now is the big finish. Who's going to come save the town from Giganta? Let's read and find out. Finally, the three heroes arrived at Town Square. They saw crushed police cars and spotted giant footprints. So they saw this, what we saw in the picture here. Look at that. The heroes came and said, "Wow, look at that mess." "This is all my fault," Apache Chief said. "There must be a way to stop her. I can grow in size and take her down." "Don't blame yourself," said Atom. "Doris has gone mad with power. I'll try to reason with her first." Swoosh! The Atom and Spot zoomed through a nearby power line and appeared on her shoulder. "Doris, it's me," Rory said. "Please stop. Can we talk about this?" Gigantica grabbed the hero and said, "I'll crush you like a bug," she shouted. Spot hopped off of Giganta's shoulder and landed on Patch's neck. Then he ran all the way up to the giant giraffe's head, and Spot bit Patches on the ear. Youch! Chomp! Patches bucked her head back and forth, trying to shake him off. Now Petite Pooch bit Patches again and held on for dear life. Giganta squeezed the atom harder, and the hero couldn't reach his belt. He was stuck. Spot thought up a better idea. He leapt down into Patch's ear, and he cleared his throat, and he let out a loud bark. Ah! That was really loud. Right in her ear. The sound echoed through the giant giraffe's ear canal, and Patches got confused and fell forward, knocking into Giganta, and her grip on the atom was loosened, and the mighty mites rode on air current to safety. So these big giants fell, and they let go of our little guys when they were falling down. Look at all the people running away from them. The towering terrors tumbled down into a nearby park. Their huge bodies sank into the ground, and they scared the citizens, and they ran away. These people who live in the city are called citizens. They ran away when these great big giants fell down in their park. The Atom had another plan. He and Spot were going to use their shrinking devices on Giganta and Patches. This is a good idea. Once the lenses on their belts had been reversed, the hero and his pet raced over to the villains and aimed at them the shrinking rays. Zap! Stop that, you little gnats! Giganta yelled, but zap! Yep, she and Patches tried to catch the Atom and Spot, and Giganta clawed at the ground with her nails, and Patches stomped with her hoops, but they couldn't stop it. The Half-Pint Hero and Mini-Mutt were too quick. Atom and Spot continued to hop around, and they zapped the villains with their shrinking rays until... Shwoom! Wow, look at that! They got zapped with the shrinking rays. They were very, very big, and now they were so big, and now they're getting smaller and smaller and smaller. Wow. The terrible twosome fell under the grass and shrank back to their original size. Sorry to cut you down to size, Giganta, but you are getting too big for your britches, said the Atom. Dr. Zool looked around in the park and said, "Oh, what a mess I've made," she cried. Patches nuzzled against Doris. "But at least I made a new friend." Doris and Patches became friends, and Doris patted Patches as the police and animal rescue arrived. The Atom and Spot stood by. The criminals were captured. Apache Chief was sad by the situation because he believed everyone should get a second chance. "There must be some other way. Please allow me to help," he said. "Thank you for your kindness," Dr. Zool said, "but I can't show my face in public anymore. I have made a fool of myself and the science." So she felt bad that she was so nasty when she was a villain. "Perhaps science isn't your true calling," said Apache Chief. "With the proper training, you and Patches can use your power for good. I can make you a star attraction at the superhero show." Dr. Zool was overwhelmed with joy, and she slipped her handcuffs over the chief and gave him a big hug. So he said, yeah, he's going to show her how to use her superpowers for good. Months later, the superhero show returned to Ivytown. Dr. Palmer and Spot had tickets for opening night and came to see the newest performer, Giganta, the Strong Woman. When the curtains parted, Giganta emerged with the Apache Chief and Patches. Together, the new friends said the magic words, "Lunk chunk," and they each grew 50 feet tall. Wow! Like I said, that's taller than your house. Their performance was amazing, and the crowd threw flowers and gave them a standing ovation. "You see, Spot," Dr. Palmer said, "a small act of kindness can make a big difference." "Bark, bark, bark," said Scott, and Spot agreed. Yep. Well, that's the end of our story. And oh, here's a picture of, these are all hero pets. And these are the villains. So I'm going to look for more stories if you guys like Super Pets. Atom. What is an atom? It's the smallest piece of element in the world. And a dwarf star was also in our story. It's a star such as the sun. It has a small size. And here's a picture of some other books that I would look for to read. And there's another picture of the superheroes and villains. So, I hope you liked our story today and that you are having a wonderful time hanging out with your family and doing fun things. And I will see you soon. Love you all. Mwah. Bye-bye.